On October 13th, the Frederick County Public Schools Board of Education mandated proof of vaccinations for winter sports athletes. The board set up a testing service that would conduct a weekly COVID test for all unvaccinated athletes. Here is how some Middletown athletes felt about the original plan.
I really don't think it's fair that they get a say in whether or not we have to be vaccinated or not. In order to play sports, sports should be something that you should be able to do regardless of that.
I understand why they made the decision, to have the mandate, but I don't think it's that necessary.
Our MHS athletic director speaks on how the policy affected athlete participation.
Impact did that have? I do know that we had student athletes who chose not to participate because they were not vaccinated and didn't feel comfortable being tested weekly.
During the Board of Education's meeting on Wednesday, December 8th, they considered the public's opinion and voted to repeal the original policy based on these factors. I talked with Sam Stars, the Frederick County student member of the board, about why the policy was changed.
There was statistically significant flaws in the plan. For example, testing was only happening once a week. So there were going to be a ton of students who were still going to COVID and not be tested, and they wouldn't be quarantined in time, so they'd spread it to the team regardless. And then there were a bunch of parent concerns over bullying and the unvaccinated being singled out from their classmates, and then student medical privacy being at risk, and they didn't know what the companies would do with the student medical information, etc. And then, like I said, so that the parent concerns coupled with the actual effectiveness of the plan just determined all right, it's not worth it.
The new policy makes vaccines optional and dismisses the weekly testing for the time being. The board claims they are exploring options to reinstate the weekly testing on a voluntary basis. MHS athletes share their opinion on the new policy.
It's a new policy change because I think before the required testing caused students a lot of anxiety, and now they can be a little more free of worry.
I think it's for the best, just so there's less positive cases and we all have more playing time and we don't have to stop for quarantining.
The very vocal group that opposed the policy was very happy, and got lots of thanks from them. But then there also have been groups of parents and groups of students who have now spoken up and said, hey, why'd you redo the policy? We liked it. But overall, I think my perception was that the majority of students and parents, they were in favor of the policy, but ultimately they didn't really care about it. They were willing to support it, but it didn't really affect them. So I think that's still the case, and I think most people are just kind of saying whatever.
The Board of Education revoked their original plan on December 8th in the middle of the first week of winter sporting events. Athletes share their opinion on the timing of the policy change.
They probably should have told us earlier rather than the night before the testing was going to take place, because I know for track at least the coaches were not happy with everyone who hadn't signed up for testing and how that would affect our meet on Friday.
I didn't like how they changed it right before our first meets and stuff. I think it would have been better to give athletes more time to be prepared.
Sam Stars explains why the Board of Education made their decision at the time they did.
Part of it was no one made the motion because they didn't think that there would be enough support to pass it, but ultimately it was I think 6-1 vote, so It passed pretty easy.
Despite the unexpected change in policy, athletes and coaches adapted to the new policy.
Pretty much everyone on the team is excited about the change in policy, so they don't have to get tested every week.
I'm vaccinated, so it doesn't affect me on whether or not I need to get tested or not, so I'm feeling pretty safe.
I feel pretty safe considering that we have the choice whether or not to participate, and it's just the risk that we have to take.